Hello and welcome to this lesson on recommended dietary allowances or RDAs. Now in RDAs, it is recommended by the Nutrition Board and we need to have a certain amount of carbs, protein, fat. So these are called as the macronutrients. We will have another video on the micronutrients. So micronutrients is all your minerals and your vitamins. So basically, when you eat something, it does have carb, protein, and fat. Like you take a whole grain, it already has carb, protein, and fat. Now, when you isolate protein, then you have protein isolate. Now, they may or may not be good for digestion. That's why whole foods are always recommended. So, whole foods means you cook them fresh. Even when you make a flour, the carb content increases because it breaks down, it makes the carbs even more free flowing. So there is a difference between eating a whole carb and a flour. So if you look at the recommended dietary allowances, the carbohydrates are around 45 to 65% because your body can live without carbohydrates, but in your essential day-to-day activity, you have something called as resting metabolic rate. So you need to burn a certain amount of calories. You need to you need to burn a certain amount of glucose. So you need a certain carbohydrate to give instant glucose to your brain, to your system. Your brain and spinal cord require a continuous flow of glucose. That's how they work. So your dietary glucose gives instant energy to the brain. So that is why when you eat glucose, it also gives you a lot of satisfaction because it increases the amount of glucose into the brain. So when you fast, you get irritated because it interrupts the free flow of glucose into your brain. So when you fast, the body begins to break down the fat that you have stored and converts it into glucose. That's why it takes a little bit of time before this kicks in. And that depends on your level of metabolism. So sometimes fasting is better once in 15 days, or 1 day fast, or once in a week, a liquid diet fast are all beneficial because it breaks down the stored fat in your liver and other parts of your body and supplies the brain. That also reduces the toxic fat which is stored in the other parts of the body. All the brain is also a fat tissue. So now, if you look at the recommended levels, you have 65%, 45 to 65% of carbohydrates, and then you have 10 to 35% of proteins and 20 to 35% of fat. So now the more you eat protein, especially if you're a pre-diabetic, it's better. You can actually, although these are recommended levels, now this can change based on your diet and lifestyle and your health conditions. Sometimes in certain health conditions, you cannot consume the required or recommended amount of carbohydrates. By the way, when you eat anything, you have carbohydrates, protein, and fat. In fact, everything has a lot of carbohydrates in them. Protein is only a small amount. Only in animal fat, animal meats, you find a lot of protein in one place, but even they have a lot of carbs and fats as well. Like mung protein, mung sprouts, so they have a high amount of protein, but they have carbs as well. But they are not as much as how you would eat in a form of a grain. The thing is, grains are more heavier and they give you more satisfaction. So that's the thing. You need to be satiated. So it's a question of getting used to. After a certain age, and then you get used to. I found that if you exercise well, then you are more prone to eat more protein and fats than carbs. Now, one of the things that is happening today is that we are getting less than 50% of our nutrients from what we are supposed to get in the food. So what happens is when you add so many pesticide, it kills the gut bacteria, reduces nutrient absorption, destroys the nutrients in the gut, causes gut inflammation, and weakens your immune system. That is why the foods that are present today, they only give you um, less than 50%, less than 50% of their value that they're supposed to give. And that's why people are having more and more supplements. And one of the most important supplements is to improve your gut bacteria with probiotics, ghee, yogurt, and all that. Okay. Now, yeah, this I've explained already. Now, there are certain essential amino acids. Now, very important thing that I found is there is nothing called essential carbohydrates. So basically, even if you don't eat carbohydrates, you can still survive. But your body needs essential amino acids. Now, amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Now, you have the names of the important amino acids over there: leucine, isoleucine, lysine, methionine, and threonine. Now, basically, you can get leucine with even rice has certain amount of protein. Rice and beans is a good combination, but the thing is they are high in carb as well. So for vegetarian sources, beans and lentils are a very good source of these proteins. Nuts and seeds, chia, edamame. Now complete proteins. So you have quinoa and beans, tofu, stir fry. Now for those who are eating dairy, so dairy, you can get adequate with cheese, you get a lot of fat. Milk is considered the best protein. Paneer, ghee also, although it is fat, but it also has a good amount of protein as well. Now, the certain other meats that are there, they are good. They also have tryptophan, phenylalanine, lysine, valine, leucine. So all these you can attain. The only problem with the animal protein is in Ayurveda, it is considered very rajasic. So it affects your mind a lot and level of satisfaction and happiness overall. So that is why it is recommended only if you are very deficient, then you could switch to animal protein, but otherwise, vegetarian and dairy sources are good enough to meet your needs. If you are used to generally having meat, then you can eat what is essential that will benefit you. So, for example, having meats late at night, they are not very good. Means if you have your meats at lunchtime, they are still very digestible. So, if you can have your foods more at lunchtime. So dinner, you don't have heavy meats. You try to avoid heavy meats or heavy carbohydrates, and then you try to eat something lighter. Then you can digest it well, right? So even if you eat proteins, you should eat it at the right time. Like a heavy glass of milk at night, um, it may not be recommended because it's heavy to digest. So at night, you should eat something lighter. So even among proteins, you can have some things which are easy to digest. For example, nuts and seeds are very easy to digest. Chia and edamame, very easy to digest. Beans a little tough, right? Beans and lentils, they take a little bit of time in your belly. So good time would be like around the lunchtime. So these are the essential amino acids and the food sources that are very important for you to have. Now, similarly, you need essential fats. Now, there is both vegetarian and non-vegetarian sources. So you have omega-3 and omega-6 fats. So basically, omega-6 fats. So ghee has omega-6 fats, which is very, very good. Most of the oils that you find are omega-3. You need only a certain amount of omega-3, but if you have these vegetable oils, they cause a plaque in the heart because they have very small particles of ApoB, and they can get stuck within the arteries and then create a plaque blocking. So if you have good quality ghee, nuts and seeds, so they give you good omega-6 fats, fatty acids, and you can have plenty of nuts and seeds. So that is why please include nuts and seeds in your daily diet. Now, chia and flax seeds are very good source for omega-3 in general for fats. Okay. So you need a combination of both fats, because even if you are low in fats, that's also a cause of diabetes. If your body is essentially very lean, too lean, so you need, if you are having inflamed fat like low quality omega-3, then that's what causes the inflammation, too fat. So you should have essential fat, so omega-3, omega-6 in the required amount, but not too much, right? So that is why when you eat also, like even if you are eating meat, if you eat in moderate amount, then you get the required amount of fats. Otherwise, what happens is it can build up too much fat, because animal fat is very heavy. It's not easy to digest, although animal protein is, but not animal fat. So everything comes with a plus and a minus. Vegetable sources, especially the nuts and seeds, are very easy to digest. Nuts and seeds, especially soaked nuts. The nuts are never taken just like that. They are taken in a soaked way. Okay. Now, basically, one thing is to avoid in carbs is to avoid a refined carb. So, in their natural state, a whole grain consists of an entire seed known as a kernel. Now, the kernel contains of three parts: the bran, germ, and the endosperm. Now, the bran is the outermost kernel and is designed to protect the kernel from the environment. It consists of B vitamins, antioxidants, and fiber. The germ is the embryo of the kernel and contains B vitamins, minerals, some fats, some proteins. So the endosperm is the largest part of the kernel. It contains starchy carbohydrates, some protein, and small amounts of vitamins and minerals, very small amounts. But during refining, what happens is this small amounts of vitamins and minerals are removed. The bran and the germ are removed. As such, much of the fiber and nutrients are lost. Examples of this process include removing the outer layer of a whole grain kernel to convert brown rice to white rice. So that is why avoid refined grains. So refined grains are not good for our diet. So now what do we do? So start a balanced plate of half plate veggies, fruit for volume. So basically, fruit here basically is something like a dried fruit, fiber, vitamins, minerals. So you can have some nuts and seeds, soaked nuts with and some pumpkin seeds or others with your food. So that's not fresh fruit. You cannot have fresh fruit with your lunch. But you can have fruits separately in the morning. Then a half plate of protein food such as beans, lentils, tofu, yogurt, all these. And then if you eat meat, then eggs, fish. But that is basically at lunchtime. Okay. So quarter plate of grain. So you see, if your has more than quarter plate of grain, then that could be a problem. Then you could be high in carbohydrates. So that's the problem. Most of us, like in India especially, we are used to a lot of rice and have something around it, but that's not the case. You see how it should be planned out here. And then healthy oils we can see, but ghee is the best, but healthy oils sometimes are very beneficial, like for example olive oil, not used for cooking but very good for dressing. Okay. So for a vegetarian, quinoa, brown rice, oats, fat, potatoes, reduce it as much as you can. Like for a diabetic, pre-diabetic, minimal use of potatoes. For protein, dal, beans, tofu, tempeh, yogurt, very good cheese, very good cottage cheese, uh, vegetable, greens plus cooked vegetables. Okay. Healthy fats, nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocado. Avocado is the best. plus ghee, and combine legumes, dairy, soy, very easy. Okay. So for non vegetarians, the carbs remain the same. Only thing is the protein. So the yogurt is there. So you fish, chicken, eggs, lean meat. But then again, have it during lunchtime. Okay. So you need to have a mix of fiber and meat, because if you only eat meat, it creates a lot of inflammation in the body, because the body is not meant to digest just one kind of food. The body needs bacteria from all different foods and grow the good bacteria. So for vegetable, you need more. You need, when you're eating meat, that's why they balance it with salad, because the salads will provide the fibers that you need. Stir fried veggies. So healthy fats, olives, olive oils, nuts, seed, avocados, and egg. So basically, with this, you'll be able to, and with the portion control, if you max the portion, you will find what you need for your to meet your daily needs. So vegetarians build proteins around beans, lentils, soy, yogurt, cottage cheese, and okay, legs are non-vegetarian, so that's one thing. I'll just delete it from the presentation. But then for you can have quarter plate of some grain, because you need some satisfaction. A little bit of grain can give you some level of degree of satisfaction. Sometimes you can miss it, so a little bit is beneficial. So use nut, seeds, avocado to lift fat intake when meats are too lean, uh, when meals are too lean, sorry. So you need to lift up your fat intake. So fat, basically you need to protect your body in the winters, in the temperatures. So basically it's very important to have good fats. So avocados, so every day you need nuts and seeds. Basically you definitely need quite a bit of nuts and seeds. So you need soaked nuts. So that's why I've been emphasizing soaked nuts in the morning. And best time is in the morning. Any time in the day, you can have plenty of nuts. You can have it with the lunch too. It's very good. And keep your carbs limited, and then eat plenty of proteins and fats. So if you are lean, if you are thin person, then plenty of fats. If you are a overweight person, then plenty of protein. In this way, you can balance your diet. Okay. Thank you all so much. See you in the next video.